Good morning, good morning. Welcome to another beautiful day. We are on day 22 of my parenting challenge, and we're still in the behaviors, looking generally at behaviors today, and then tomorrow we'll get into more specific things. So today we're going to be talking about whether or not you're playing behavioral offense or defense, because behaviors are usually pretty predictable, right? We know, for example, transitions off of screen times can be really tricky. If your kids are playing video games, that might always be an area where you're getting into a fight, right? One more minute, bud. Or we might know, I always call dinner time sort of the witching hour, right? So around 5 o'clock, we're trying to get dinner ready. And then that's, of course, when the kids start fighting and everything's just kind of going chaotic. So oftentimes we can predict when behaviors happen because we're in them day in and day out, right? And yet we're always surprised when behaviors come up, right? We tend to snap and then everyone else gets upset and we're kind of stuck in this rut day in and day out. So we need to start getting on offense, especially with these behaviors that are always happening, right? That we're always getting stuck. If we feel frustrated, it's like every day I'm talking to you guys about this. That means you're stuck in one of those ruts. So we first have to do that by creating success. So being offensive and getting on, doing things proactively is creating success for ourselves and for our kids. So whether we're setting up the environments for them to be successful or problem solving, that goes a long way as well. But one example is, just going through our expectations. We've already talked a little bit about that because sometimes we do have expectations that are really too hard for our kids to handle. So once, this was before when we could still go watch our kids' ringette games, I was at my daughter's ringette game and my friend brought her little 3-year-old guy and she had to work all morning, and so he was sitting quietly and doing his thing while she was working, and then they came for the afternoon to watch the game, and he was bouncing in his chair. So not even doing anything wrong. He was just bouncing in his chair. But mom was really stressed and flustered and getting all upset and kept scolding him. Sit still. And he'd sit for a millisecond and then he'd start bouncing again. She's like, I told you, sit still. He's 3, right? And he'd been sitting all day and he had all this pent up energy. And so it's just knowing our expectations. And I know that she knew. We get stressed ourselves, right? And so I said, okay, come on, bud, I'm hungry. Let's go for a snack. And so I took him with me and I let him run up and down the hallways at the rink, and we went and got a snack. And that was enough to burn off some of his energy, and then he could come and sit back down. Now, he was still kicking his legs, right? But he wasn't at least bouncing in the chair and being too disruptive for mom. But these are the types of things, thinking ahead. Will my 3-year-old be able to sit for a full hour, sitting perfectly still, not moving and bunching around? Probably not, right? And so this is what I mean about being proactive, kind of getting in the forefront. If you go to restaurants, for example, bringing activities for your kids. And I knew she was frustrated, but his little body just couldn't sit for too long. And if you have kids who can't sit still for dinner, for example, right, for an entire 20 minutes of dinner, if you're fighting all the time about trying to get them to sit, why are you doing that to yourself day in and day out? We can work towards having them sit for 20 minutes, but expecting them right off the bat to sit for 20 minutes, it's just going to be a fight. So we need to look at other ways. So maybe we're just setting it for 5 minutes or doing it as an experiment. Okay, I predict you can sit for 6.32 seconds, right? Or 6 minutes and 32 seconds. What's your prediction? And let's see who's the closest. So you can set it up like that. And then it's like, wow, bud, you were actually able to sit for 7 minutes today. Do you think that we could extend that? Or yesterday you were able to sit that long. Do you think we could extend that today? So setting things up like that, I love doing experiments. If you've worked with me, you know that I do lots of different experiments, but we can work up to that, but knowing what's going to be realistic for them in the first place. Maybe incorporating something engaging at dinner time. My girls really love the would you rathers, right? Would you rather eat chocolate that tastes like poo, or would you rather eat poo that tastes like chocolate, right? So it's engaging them. They're eating and they're sitting and they're involved. So looking at how we can set up the environment for us to be successful. If mornings are rough, maybe it's a matter of sitting down in the morning or maybe the night before and saying, okay, I know mornings we keep butting heads, right? What can we do to have a great morning? What can I do? What can mommy do? What can daddy do? What can you do, right? What can we all do to have a great morning? We have sunrise clocks in my house. So I don't have to go in and wake them up, right? And right now, I mean, maybe it's not a big deal, but the sunrise clock, it's just setting up the environment for them to be successful, where the light slowly, gradually brightens, and so their body is physiologically waking up as though with the sun, right? And that's how we want to wake up. So then we're not groggy and grumpy. That's just one example. Or it's just thinking about, okay, mornings are usually rough, and I go in and I turn on the light and I pull back blankets and say, time to get up, right? Maybe we can do things a little differently. Maybe you're going in a couple minutes early and you're stroking their back, giving them a little bit of a back rub, right? Saying things a little bit softly. So looking at how we can do things so that we're not always caught in that fight. That can be huge. You could always do little surprise jokes. You know, my kids both have little mailboxes, and so sometimes I'll surprise them with morning jokes, right? So then they're looking forward to getting up and looking at that joke. So there's lots of different things, or making their favorite breakfast, right? You're only limited by your own creativity. That's what I'm always telling parents. So you could do those types of things. Homework time, if that's a struggle, you know, if you're trying to do your work and your kids are trying to do their work, okay, you know, I notice we're always fighting. What can we do? And I will get to some of that in a couple of days as well, just helping you along with that. But I think it's really important for you to be clear, how do I want this time to go? So whether it's the morning or bedtime routine or whatever you're struggling with, how do I want this time to go? What's the ideal scenario? And then what can I do to intentionally, purposely, proactively set that up so that we can all be successful and going in calm and patient? And even if they're reacting with spazzes, right? How can I maintain this peace so that we can be successful in the end? So really, it goes with any time that you're struggling with. And when you've tried everything and things go south, well, it's a great learning day. You know, so if you're setting it up, how are we going to have a great morning, or how are we going to have a great school time period here? What are we going to do? And then it all goes south and it's a big fight. Well, that didn't work. You can check in at the end of the day, right? Well, what we tried this morning really didn't work. What needs tweaking so we can try again tomorrow? The first plan doesn't always work. So it's just tweaking and tweaking and tweaking. And that's what I love about this challenge, is we're just taking things one day at a time to see what works and what doesn't work. So, the purpose really here is to be purposeful and try to set things up successfully in the first place. So for today, I want you to get on offense and be proactive. How can you approach any situation with the best outcome in mind, right? So look for those gridlock situations where you're always butting heads, right? How can you set yourself up for success? How can you help your kids be set up for success so that you can really have a great morning or have a great work period or whatever it is, manage those behaviors in a little bit better way. What's getting in the way of being successful? Do your kids need help? What can be done differently? For today's worksheets, just create a plan. Write down those gridlock situations and create a plan of what you can do a little bit differently, proactively, so that you're circumventing those situations in the first place. Go have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.